What would you do if you saw an injured animal on the verge of death, all alone in the woods? Would you walk away, or would you choose to save it, even if it meant risking your own safety? That's exactly the choice young Ethan faced one cold afternoon deep in the heart of the forest. Little did he know that one small act of kindness would not only change his life, but create a bond with a creature of unimaginable power, a bond that would come to his rescue when he needed it most. This is the story of Ethan and the wolf, a tale of trust, loyalty, and love, and a story that will make you believe that true friendship knows no boundaries, not even between a boy and a wild beast. Ethan had always been the curious kind. Growing up on the edge of a vast forest, his days were filled with adventures. But today, as he wandered through the woods with a feeling of unease gnawing at him, something was different. It wasn't just the cool autumn breeze rustling through the trees or the sound of leaves crunching beneath his feet. There was a sense that the forest was watching him, that it held a secret. As he pushed forward, his foot caught on a tangled root, sending him tumbling to the ground. The crash startled a nearby bird, sending it fluttering into the sky. But what caught Ethan's attention was a low growl coming from the thicket ahead. Heart pounding, he cautiously stood up, brushing dirt from his pants, and slowly moved towards the sound. Through the thick brush, he saw it. A wolf, large and majestic, its fur a mix of deep gray and silver, lying in a pool of blood. The wolf's once powerful eyes now looked dull, its breathing shallow. Ethan froze. Wolves were rare in these parts, and he had only heard stories of their strength and fierceness. Yet here it was, a creature that could easily harm him, but now vulnerable, lying helpless in front of him. The wolf, sensing Ethan's presence, let out a pained growl, but it didn't move. The sight stirred something deep inside him, a sense of responsibility and compassion he couldn't ignore. Despite the danger, Ethan's heart went out to the creature. He knew what he had to do. Without hesitation, Ethan rushed back to his village to grab a few items from his small first aid kit. He returned to the wolf, speaking softly to it as he knelt beside its injured body. He could tell the wounds were deep, but there was no time to waste. Gently, he began cleaning the cuts and wrapping them in cloth, making sure to be as careful as possible, knowing that the wolf's trust was fragile. The wolf's eyes followed him, no longer filled with aggression, but with something else, a quiet acceptance. As Ethan worked, he couldn't help but wonder what had happened to this wild creature, what had brought it to this point. He didn't know, but he knew that the wolf needed him, and so he stayed. He watched over the creature until the sun began to set, and then, only when he was sure the wolf was stable, did he quietly leave the clearing, promising himself that he would check back on it the next day. Over the following weeks, Ethan returned to the forest daily, tending to the wolf's wounds, bringing food and water. He had started to form a bond with the animal, not one built on words, but on trust. Every time he returned, the wolf was waiting, looking at him with those watchful, intelligent eyes. It wasn't long before Ethan noticed a change. The wolf seemed to grow stronger. It began moving about more freely, its fur becoming shinier, its steps more confident. But there was something more. The wolf, despite its wild nature, seemed to become protective of Ethan. Whenever he ventured deeper into the forest, the wolf would follow him, keeping a careful distance but never far behind. Months passed, and winter crept in. The days grew shorter and the air colder, but the bond between Ethan and the wolf only grew stronger. One evening, as Ethan made his way home from the forest, a group of men suddenly ambushed him. The cold steel of their knives glinted under the dim moonlight as they tied his hands, dragging him toward the woods. Panic surged through Ethan as the men laughed cruelly, muttering about taking him to a distant place where no one would find him. Ethan struggled, but it was no use. His strength was no match for the men's grip. His heart raced, fear consuming him. But then, just as hope began to fade, a loud howl pierced the night air. The sound echoed through the trees, sharp and fierce. The men stopped, looking around in confusion. Suddenly, the wolf appeared, emerging from the shadows like a shadow itself. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity as it lunged toward the men, snarling with fury. The attackers hesitated, taken aback by the sheer power of the creature before them. But before they could react, the wolf was upon them, its teeth sinking into the arm of one of the men. The others screamed in terror, stumbling back as the wolf fought them off with a strength that it seemed impossible for such a wild animal. Ethan, still tied, watched in awe as the wolf, his friend, fought for him, repaying the kindness he had shown months ago. With one last growl, the wolf sent the men scattering into the woods, vanishing into the darkness. The night was silent again, save for the sound of Ethan's heavy breathing. Ethan staggered to his feet, his heart racing. The wolf stood beside him, panting but unharmed, its eyes watching him with a calm understanding. Ethan smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. He had helped Wolf when it was at its lowest, and now the wolf had done the same for him. The bond between them was unbreakable. As the wolf turned and disappeared into the forest once more, Ethan stood there for a moment, taking in the quiet beauty of the night. He had learned something that day, that kindness, no matter how small, can change lives, and sometimes the most unexpected friendships are the ones that save us. From that moment on, Ethan never doubted the power of compassion, and he carried the memory of the wolf's loyalty with him forever. The wolf had repaid him in a way that was beyond anything he could have imagined, and their story became a legend in the village, a story of kindness, loyalty, and a friendship that defied the boundaries between man and beast. If you ever felt that a simple act of kindness could change the course of your life, drop a comment below. Do you believe that animals can show loyalty like humans do? Let's talk about it. And if you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Trust me, there are so many more heartwarming tales waiting to be shared.